Hey guys, welcome to our new podcast, Why We Ballroom, hosted by Ricky Taylor Dubovik and myself, Dan Spach.
Hi, guys. This is going to be episode 1 of our podcast. And today we're going to be mostly talking about couple related topics.
First, I wanted to mention how the coronavirus affected practically the whole dance world. For example, in my city, we were not allowed to have group classes or over 10 people in the studio. So we still had a few private classes going on. So I was able to practice. Fortunately, I know some of my other friends were able to practice because they had access to the studio, they had keys to their studio. But the studio wasn't really open to the public. It was only for the people who were already in the studio and just for the few people who took private lessons before the whole pandemic started. How about you, Ricky?
My experience is obviously I was in New York before, and if you are in the area, you would know that when coronavirus really started to go up in March, all the studios in New York and New Jersey were forced to close, and there was no place to practice at all except in your apartment, your room, whatever you had. So it was really hard, especially as a dance teacher as well, because I make my income being a dance teacher. And with all the studios closed, it was very difficult to find out what we're going to do with our dancing and what we're going to do with our financial situation. So, because of all the studios closing, my husband and I ended up coming to Seattle to stay here for a few months, because in the beginning we were kind of hopeful that in a few months that things would kind of go back to normal and the studios would be opening again, competitions would be starting again. Now it's December of 2020 and we all know how that turned out. All competitions still being canceled, everything's being pushed back. So we decided to move to Seattle permanently. But thankfully, there are a few studios here that it's kind of on and off. Sometimes the studio will be open and you're allowed to practice, but it's definitely cautious of how many couples you're going to have in the studio, maybe 3, 4 couples maximum at a time. And usually, when it's really strict, like in the beginning and now, because they're kind of pulling back, they'll have like certain timesheets where you have to say, okay, I'm coming to the studio at this time. And if there's somebody at that time, then you can't go to practice when somebody else is there. And obviously, sometimes it's more open, but thankfully, the studios are open. There is the option to practice, but it is very restrained and not just as free as it was before, which I'm sure so many people have experienced during the past 8 months of this pandemic.
Yes. Similar similar situation in my studio. We still have our group classes, but now there's twice as less people there because they either got scared away or they just decided to quit for their own personal reasons. We still have private lessons going on, so the studio is somehow holding up. The main reason why our studio is still holding up, we have gymnastics in our studio, and there is a ton of people there. Um, there are two classes where 17 kids in each class. It's crazy, but it's we're doing what we can to keep the studio afloat. But yeah, I'm
Oh,
sure
yes.
I'm sure other people have interesting stories that they can share about their experience with the coronavirus. If you do, definitely message us on Instagram at Why We Ballroom. Just that's our Instagram, or on our Facebook. Just DM us there. Um, but getting into the couple related questions, the first one that we got was, how do couples get over their fighting? Like when they're fighting during practice or at the competition. Ricky, could you share us your secrets?
I can't really say that I have any secrets. Definitely, it's going to be different for every partnership because every partnership is made up of two completely different personalities. And each person is going to deal with an argument or with a problem in their own way. And in my experience, I've had three problems, three, I've had three partners throughout my dancing career, not three problems. And each of my three partners handled being in an argument very differently from each other. And I can definitely say that for me, what works the best is always try to be as patient with the other person as possible. And to, I know it's very difficult, but to try to put yourself in their shoes, especially when we're in an argument, it's very easy only to understand our point of view and to automatically think, this is the way, this is one way, I'm arguing my side, and I'm not going to consider anything else because you feel so passionate about whatever you're arguing about. But I found that it helps so much when I talk to my partner and try to understand exactly the way that they're feeling. Why are they lashing out? Why are they feeling this way? Why are we creating such a big problem out of something that very, very likely is not even that important? Because I feel like couples can really just get into arguments over the smallest things. I've had this experience many, many times. I've seen it on other couples, and I know it's something that we all struggle with. So, if I had one secret, I would definitely say take 10 seconds to breathe and take another 10 seconds to just try to see where they're coming from, try to understand them. If you don't understand them at all, then as calmly as possible, try to reach out and listen, not just hear, but you really have to listen their perspective and what they have to say. And while you're listening, it's going to be really, really hard to not budge in and to not like kind of bite back at them and say, no, that's wrong, or whatever you want to say, or just kind of, because like I said before, you're probably going to be very passionate. It might be a heated argument. It's really hard, but you have to try your best to just let them finish what they're saying. Let them feel like they're being heard, and they will be much more likely to do the same for you. When you want to share your perspective, it's much more likely that they will be quiet. They will use their brain just to think, to hear everything that you have to say. And hopefully, with that understanding of both people, you'll be able to get over the argument much faster, understand why it happened, and understand how to prevent it from happening again.
That's awesome. Yes, I've heard about this a lot. A lot of couples use it. Interesting story on this topic. When I was at a lecture with William Pino's
Mhm.
lecture, he took a few minutes to describe how he works with his partner, and I found it very amusing and very smart. I'm not sure exactly what their schedule was, but I think there's a portion of the practice where they just don't talk to each other.
Mhm.
They just practice without speaking to each other at all, because that way they can't really argue. I think he said like towards the end they would discuss a few things if they have questions for each other, but they try to eliminate the possibility of arguing at all. So I found that very interesting, and I do try to incorporate that, but then some of our personal issues get in the way, and it's kind of hard to uphold it.
Yeah, I think it can definitely go both ways. There's definitely the way of talking out your problems and explaining to the other person. Then there's also the way of kind of either not acknowledging them and just saying, okay, this is a problem, but it's not a very big deal. We're just going to roll past it. Let's just keep going. Let's not bring anything up. Let's kind of just let it be in the past and move forward. Both of them are very, very good ways. I think, like I said before, really depends on your personality and your partner's personality, because you might have the same way of getting through a problem, or you might have completely different ways of getting through a problem. And one thing that I've faced a lot in my dancing career with partners is something what my coach, Jonathan Wilkins, calls reactive practice. And he coaches many, many couples around the world. And it doesn't matter if you're amateur or professional ballroom finalist, or you're a junior one couple. He's seen it so many times over and over again, what we would call reactive practice, which is just basically one or the other person reacting to a problem that comes up in the dance, whether it's how a feeling or a specific technique or move, whatever bothers you. He's calling it reactive practice because the whole entire practice, you can either go through bringing up every single problem and complaining about it and reacting to it, or you can also go through the whole practice just ignoring all the problems, but still reacting, what I would call like psychologically or passive aggressively, because we've all been in that practice where you're dancing, something goes wrong, nobody has to say anything, but both people know that wasn't very good. That didn't feel good. I'm kind of getting aggravated. Let's try it again. You tried again, same problem. You tried a different piece. It's not feeling good. And you can still go through your practice ignoring that, but it's not going to solve the problem either. So what he one of his suggestions is that if you're having a reactive practice or you find yourself with that experience, to kind of break up your practice session into a few different pieces. Like, say you practice for an hour and 30 minutes that day, definitely you need time in the beginning just for yourself to feel yourself, not to go and immediately grab your partner and just expect it to feel good. Warm up yourself, warm up your body, kind of be quiet, just in your mind think, that felt good, that didn't feel good, let me practice this again. Then you have the part of the practice where you are dancing together, and this part is where you're allowed to explain something that's bothering you, but not in a reactive way that you're just like, you felt something and now you're going to argue about it. But you kind of feel something, you try to fix it, you feel something, you try to fix it, and then you actually try to talk about it normally and not just immediately get in a fight. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? um and you'll have like, you want to be able to stop at different parts where you're having a problem and try to move through them, talk about it, solve it, move through it. And the last part of the practice is when you're not really allowed to talk. Of course, you're allowed to talk, but it's basically, this is what he would call the dance through part of the practice, which is just you put up your frame if you're in standard, or if you're in Latin, you put on the music, you do your routine, you do all five, whatever you're doing that day, and you dance through it. You're going to feel parts that are bad. You're going to feel parts that you don't like, but you're going to be surprised that the more you dance through it, since you already had that beginning part of the practice where you were able to talk about what's bothering you, explain, have the other person hear you, you're going to get to the end of the practice where even though all the things that you just worked on are not going to be fixed yet, you will understand that both you and your partner are aware, and you're working towards to fix that, instead of just assuming like they're doing it wrong on purpose, or they're not paying attention, or they're not working hard enough, because you already had that part where you talked about what we need to work on. Now we're just going to dance it through. We're going to let the music play, and you don't talk about what you liked or what you didn't like, unless you have like some really positive feedback, like, oh, that was great. Then obviously tell your partner that that was great.
Yeah.
But you have to give yourself a certain amount of time to dance through your dances. It doesn't matter at the end if you're happy or if you're sad, because you did all your dances, you got through it, you did your self practice, you talked with your partner, found what you wanted to fix, and you did your dance through. And the next day you come back, and since you already danced through it again, when you dance through the next day, you're going to be so much surprised how much easier it is, how much better it is, instead of just having a reactive practice and react to everything that you or your partner is doing.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense actually. What I've noticed, what works for me is, let's say there is a piece of my routine that just does not feel good. We would set up our phone and film us dancing that, and just rewatch the video multiple times. I will analyze what I'm doing that's messing up the steps or messing up the feeling, and my partner would analyze what she's doing, and we would share that. One thing, my smooth coach, Dima Pagibel, he mentioned this one thing where your actual feeling does not always sync with what you're actually doing. You could be feeling that you're doing the greatest, like the best dance you've ever done, and if you watch the video, it looks like it looks horrible. It does not look like it just felt. And it could be the reverse as well. So always keep that in mind as well. If you feel like a certain move is not feeling incorrectly, now it's supposed to feel comfortable, okay? All of your dancing is supposed to be comfortable. If it's not comfortable, definitely something is off. Set up your camera, rewatch it, analyze it, and move on. When you watch it, don't focus on yourself more than on the other person, like what the other person is doing. Focus on yourself. Watch what you're doing wrong. They'll watch what they're doing wrong. And you have to go over through that cycle multiple times, trying to fix it, getting to the point where you like it. And when you're doing it over and over again, it's going to get into your muscle memory. It's going to be much easier to dance it when you're doing rounds, run throughs, or genuinely just dancing it out of the blue.
Mhm.
So, yes, let me look at my phone. Let's see what's another couple related questions. Wow, this is a very interesting question. Sydney asked, "How do you maintain friendships with ex-partners, especially if there was a rough ending to the partnership?" Okay, Ricky.
Would you like to
Let's.
start,
I,
or do
I
you
would
want
like
me
you
to?
because you had three partners. I've had a few partners, but it was more like girls from the studio, and I was trying to dance, like tryouts, and we were fine. It was more of the parents who were like have a different perception of you. Like we dancers were fine. We're completely fine. Well, depends on why you broke up. Um, Rough ending relationships. Now, if it's between the partners, um, I don't know. It's just like how would you keep a friendship if your partnership ended in a very bad on a very bad note?
I would have to say the first thing that you have to ask yourself is, do you want to keep a friendship with that person? And I know that sounds like a stupid question to ask, but anybody who knows me personally, um, they know that I love to be friendly with everybody. I always want to keep open relationships, open friendships, even if something did happen, even if something went wrong, there was a falling out. I am always the person to say, you know what? It's okay that we went our separate ways, but I would love to have some sort of friend relationship to you if the other person is okay with that, obviously. And in my past two partnerships that have ended, obviously one of them that ended, we did end on good terms. It doesn't mean that when we broke up, it was an easy process and that I wanted to. It was just, okay, I understood that something happened and it's time to move forward. And even though it definitely, partnership ending can be so painful, it can be so discouraging sometimes, you have to understand the person who you broke up with. Was it that person's decision? Was it something with the coaches? Was it something with the parents? That's kind of a different situation. But if you're asking just about a friendship, you want to ask the person who you danced with, do you want to stay a friend with them? Because if you do, then the best way is just to be, in my experience, just to open and to be as honest as possible. You definitely can decide to stay friends with them and say, I know we're not partners anymore. I'm sorry that this happened. I don't know how you're feeling about it. Maybe you initiated it, maybe they initiated it. But just to talk openly and decide, like, hey, I would still like to have a friendship with you. I wish the best of luck to you on your new partnership and your new dancing journey. And I hope we can be supportive of each other. Now, I think most of the time, I would like to say at least 50% of the time when partnerships break up, usually there is some sort of um, friendship that can still come out of it. Obviously, there's the other 50% of the time where maybe it was really, really rough and you just never want to talk to that person again. So definitely don't feel like when you end a partnership that you have to stay friends with that person if you don't want to or if they don't want to. Because if they don't want to stay friends with you or if they weren't treating you right or there was something that was really important that actually ended the friendship that was not good for you in any way, the partnership I meant, then maybe you should ask yourself, do I want this person as a friend? Do I want this person to do I want to spend my time and energy talking to this person, still kind of keeping up that relationship with them? Because there's times where you might want to on the inside, but you have to use your brain. You have to realize maybe that's not the smartest and healthiest decision for me. I had this experience in the past with my second partnership is that I always like to end things on good terms, even if the situation was bad, even if it was hard. But unfortunately, with my second partnership, just the way that it ended, even though neither one of us had malicious intentions of, oh, I'm never going to talk to you again, or I can't believe that you would do this. It wasn't like that at all. It's just one of the reasons why our partnership was ended is because the partnership itself was not very healthy. It was a little bit toxic, and it wasn't a good place for either of us to be in at that point. And for me, it's really hard to let go of somebody. So when that partnership did end, it was really hard for me not to try to make amends right away and to be best friends with that person again, because I think both of us needed our space. We both needed a little bit of time to look at the situation from afar, grow from it. And even to this day, it's been a little bit over 2 years since we split. And I would love to say that we are pen pals, and we're best friends. I do always wish him the best in his life, what he's doing right now. But unfortunately, for our situation, we don't really ever talk to each other. We don't follow each other on social media. And like I said, it is unfortunate, but sometimes it's necessary to grow, to let that person grow and to let yourself grow. And with my other partner, my other ex partner, I can definitely say that we had a very strong friendship and relationship before. So even when we did split, although it was rough, you have to let yourself heal, let that other person be happy with the decision that they made, let them do whatever they want to do, and just realize for yourself that everything happens for a reason. And with time, if you and that person really do have a strong friendship, it will always come back to that. You will be able to reach out to them one day, either in a time of need or just reach out to them. Hey, how are you? Happy birthday. Happy New Year. Wishing you all the best. And they will be able to reciprocate that to you if they have grown and they have chose that they want to keep this friendship with you, even though you had a rough experience in the past.
Yes, I would just say basically if you think that you will benefit from the friendship, definitely talk to that person, have a conversation without sit down and just discuss if you both of you think that the friendship will be beneficial. That's the most important thing. Now, if you can't talk to that person, then definitely it's not beneficial. Like let's say the person doesn't want to talk to you, then the friendship might end up being toxic, which none of us want. But yeah, definitely ask yourself first, will I benefit from this friendship? Okay. Let's say last question. This is not really a let's see. Oh, my question is about how to get non-dancing partners, romantic or friends, to dance with you. I'm assuming it says with you. I think the person got cut off. But to dance or dance with you, I'm not sure what exactly. Let's just for the sake of the couple's topic, how do you get a non-dancing friend, romantic or just a friend, to dance with you?
I mean, I think definitely if that's your goal, you have to set up realistic expectations. If your goal is to be a competitive dancer, then maybe that's not the best route to go because in a competitive situation, you really want both parts of the partnership to wholeheartedly 110% want this. They want to practice, they want to work hard, they want to improve. they want to travel, there's definitely sacrifices that come with the competitive lifestyle. If you are a competitor looking for improvement and a result, if you are a competitor who's just looking to compete because competitions are very fun. They're a way for you to release stress because there are so many dancers that don't even go to competitions for results. They go to competitions specifically just because it's more fun than practicing in the studio. You have something to get ready for, and they don't really care about the results. So that's a little bit different situation. You could definitely kind of bring them to the studio, not even bring them to the studio. I would first start with just like showing them videos of dancing, kind of talk to them about why you love dancing so much and how much that you would love to have this experience with them. And definitely, if they're just completely disregarding it and saying, no, I would not want that at all, then you have to let them go on their path, and you could try a different way to find a partner. We could definitely talk about that topic in another podcast, how to find partners, things to consider, the best way to find a partner. But in this podcast, if we're focusing on how to get a friend or your romantic partner to be your dance partner, definitely explain to them how much you love dancing and what it would mean to you if they decided to pursue that journey with you. Definitely don't force it because you guys will probably both end up in a situation that maybe you didn't want to be in before. And if there's even a little bit of interest on their part, you could definitely use that to your advantage and start showing them some videos, start listening to some music, bring them to the studio, maybe try to kind of just get a feel if they're a natural mover, if they like dancing, if they like music. And definitely from there, it doesn't matter how experienced they are or any point in their life that they are, you will be able to find a coach that can help you and your partner improve together to a point where you're both happy with your dancing, whether that's socially dancing, whether that's socially competing, or whether that's extreme dance sport competitive where you're going there for a result, you're practicing every day, all of that. There's different situations that could fit this question. So definitely figure out what's your goal on the competitive side or social dancing side, and definitely always take other people's feelings into consideration because, like I said before, if they're your friend or your romantic partner, you already have a good relationship with them and you don't want to risk losing that relationship or messing it up because you're just trying to force them into something that, even though if you have good intentions, you think they'll like it, they'll love it. Like I said, you really want both people to love it on their own and want to do it on their own together.
Yes. I have a story, small story to go with it. I was teaching a wedding couple. I was teaching a couple. Yeah, for their wedding, they just wanted to learn a few steps that they wanted to do, that they wanted to dance. They didn't want to take choreographed number where they're doing lifts and tricks.
Hmm.
Just just a few steps, basic steps. And the girl, she was always saying, it's like, yeah, my husband, he doesn't like dancing at all. He hates it. I barely got him to take classes and everything. And then once he tried it, once he came to my lesson, we had a lot of fun. They learned a lot very quickly. They He enjoyed it. So his perception of dance changed. And I'm very glad for them because they had a lot of potential. I'll be happy to teach them again because they were a lot of fun. They were learning quick. Um, but yes, first, my take on this, if you want to get them into dancing, just teach them a few steps that you can do together. Like, let's say if you're going to like a prom dance and you're dancing together, learn a few steps that you can do at the prom dance or at a homecoming dance or just anywhere and see if they like it. If they enjoy it, but genuinely when you're teaching them, make it fun. Okay? Have enthusiasm. You can be like, okay, so we take a step right there with the no with the other left leg. No. So you gotta be fun. Okay? Because that's how when they think of dance, they associate with you, for example. It's like, oh, last time I took dances, the teacher was the most like I couldn't hear the teacher talk. That's just the first thing that comes to their mind when they hear about ballroom dancing. So their first experience should be nice. They should enjoy it all, like from the very beginning. Like Ricky said, you should show them a few videos, um, just so they can see what it's like, and just slowly teach them a few steps, a few basic steps that you could do to some music, slow music. And if they like it, if they enjoy it, yeah, definitely start learning more. If they want to start taking classes, that's even better. But yeah, don't force anything on people. That's just because that's gonna break friendships, relationships. You never want that. But yeah, well, thank you for tuning in. We will probably be posting podcasts once a week, I'd say.
Yeah,
And
our goal is to post a podcast every week. Obviously, there's maybe going to be some weeks where something happens. We can't get an upload on the day that we usually upload, or maybe some weeks where we're able to get even more uploads than one. But definitely, thank you guys so much for listening into the first podcast. I hope that you liked what we had to say and that we're looking forward to creating more podcasts for you.
yes, if you have any questions, any ideas for any topics, DM us on, again, Why We Ballroom on Instagram, on Facebook. Definitely comment in the YouTube comment section if, again, any stories that you had that you wanted us to share, or any questions and topics. Definitely go check out Ricky's YouTube channel where she posts a lot of makeup videos, hair tutorial videos, and now she is doing more interesting content as well. So she's expanding her content range. So she has more of a variety of videos now. Her YouTube is Ricky Taylor Dubovik. Just type that in, and her channel should pop up. Thank you guys for listening, and hope to see you next time.